Hello, CIEES world. My name is Renato Filler, and on behalf of the co-authors Helena Kalaminec, Irena Popovic, and Robert Spudic, I will present you the results of our recent research under the title of Mobility Patterns as Contributors to COVID-19 Spread in Croatia. As we are all tragically aware, there is disastrous and very challenging COVID-19 pandemic throughout the world. And in our research, we try to provide a contribution to mitigation of the deadly pandemic through identification of mobility as a driving force of the COVID-19 spread, identification of mobility patterns as contributors to COVID-19 epidemic's development with a special attention given to the case in Croatia, and also the identification of mobility patterns as features or predictors with statistically significant contribution to development of epidemic indices in Republic of Croatia. After the brief introduction, I will present the outline of the methodology and material used in the research, and then the main research results that will be also discussed in order to provide a conclusion in regard of our research work. In general, the contagious disease spread with mobility, and it is well-known fact, so there is also a historical response to the contagious diseases with the mobility constraints, which means that the imposure of the quarantine was usually the method taken to constrain the contagious diseases and to try to limit their spread. We can go even further to 1337 as an example, when then the independent Republic of Dubrovnik introduced the so-called Lazareti space near the port of Dubrovnik, in which the sailors coming from abroad should remain for a certain time before going into the public in order to constrain the possible spread of the bubonic plague, which was quite common in that times in the world. So Lazareti building is still available in Dubrovnik. You can go and visit them without any fear. There are no contagious diseases there anymore, but this was a practice on how to try to mitigate the pandemics at that times. Of course, in the modern times, Lazareti would not be sufficient for that, and we are looking for the advanced method in order to limit the spread and also to mitigate the pandemics in the world. In our case, we examined the well-known case of the COVID-19 pandemic and the impact on the mobility to the spread of the COVID-19, especially in the case of the Republic of Croatia. We utilize the statistical analysis of potential association between the rate of change of contextual mobility of population in Croatia during COVID-19 pandemic as the predictors, and also different epidemiological descriptors taking assessment in the case of Republic of Croatia as well during the COVID-19 pandemic as the targets. We utilize the statistical method called independent component analysis, which is used for regression analysis of the importance of the single or a group of predictors on the particular targets or epidemiological descriptor of the COVID-19 in Croatia. As predictors, we utilize the percentage of change in contextual mobility. This means that we will target and examine the mobility in special areas or for special purposes with a reference to pre-COVID-19 levels, and in particular we will take care and assess the importance of the percentage of change of visits to retail and recreation facilities. This include pubs, bars and restaurants as well, groceries and pharmacies, parks, transit stations as railway stations, bus stations, airports, then visits to workplaces such as offices or manufacturing facilities, and also visits to the residential areas in the sense of visiting friends or relatives that lives in such areas. The percentage of change in contextual mobility has been inferred from telecommunication activity records and performed and collated by Google company. Google provides those data freely available to all the researchers in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. And we utilize the data for Croatia in the time span between 20th of March 2020 to 16th of March 2021. 20th March of 2020 was actually the time when Croatia went to the first lockdown, trying to constrain the pandemic that started to develop in the first way in Republic of Croatia. As of the targets, we address the epidemiological descriptors such as number of new daily COVID-19 cases or smoothed number of new COVID-19 cases, number and smoothed number of daily COVID-19 related deaths, and the very important factor in description of development of the pandemic, the so-called reproduction rate. So how many new people will be infected with one single ill individual. We utilize the data, the structure, the original data records provided by the Our World in Data organization on the website, and we cover the same time span of 20th March 2020 to 16th March of 2021. First of all, we do the exploratory data analysis, especially creating the box plots and also assessing the ranges of values, identifying outliers, and also defining the empirical statistical distributions as models of data for the both predictors as well as for targets. After that, we try to assess the linear association of both predictors and also predictors and targets through the correlation analysis, which reveals a certain relationship, a certain association between the epidemiological the factors and parameters as well as the targets or epidemiological descriptors. Finally, we utilize the independent component regression analysis, the so-called ICR analysis, a statistical methods that will give us the importance of a single predictor in development description of the effects on the targets. I present you the results of the ICR analysis in two cases of assessment of the impact on the new COVID-19 cases on the left and on the reproduction rate or R indicator on the right, in which you can note that visits to the transit stations and change of that visits in percentage, as well as visits to the retail and recreation in pubs, restaurants as well. And parks may provide the most important effect on the two epidemiological targets that we examined and presented here on this slide. In discussion, we started with the presumption that the physical contact is the main driver of contagion, that also the mobility in populated areas generally increases probability of virus infection. But we also showed that it is important for which purpose this mobility has been conducted, so the context of mobility makes a difference in the assessment of the impact on the probability of virus infection. The research we conducted demonstrates a valuable method in assisting the policy development of contagion reduction It is aimed to serve the policymakers in developing the anti-pandemic measures, and also we identified the possibility for further research in taking into account of the rules of contagion mitigation, since we haven't been considering this in our research at present. This means that identification of the effects of the imposure of the lockdown or the mandatory wearing the face masks should be taken into account in our future research, and to find their impact together with the context of the mobility in order to identification of the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. In conclusion, the epidemiological and societal response to pandemic may be improved using advanced data analysis, and we demonstrate this concept with the analysis of the impact of general contextual mobility rate of change on COVID-19 contagion progress in Croatia. Our research results show that visits to transit stations, retail and recreation facility such as restaurants, pubs and bars, as well as visits to parks, are the most statistically influential features for all epidemiological targets. And in brief presentation of my personal details, I would like to thank you for your attention and invite you to discuss and also address our research results in discussion, which may be done by email using my contact details or directly during the CIEES conference. I wish you all the best. May you stay well and safe until the next opportunity to meet you on the CIEES or elsewhere. Thank you very much.